Tuesday, August 26, 2025. And we will begin this work session by asking, is there any one who would like to make public comment on non-agenda items? And I do have a list with Peggy McCracken. You are on the list if you'd like to go first. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to come with a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to thank you all for trying to solve a complex problem. A problem that's been kicked down the road for years and years by many city councils and staff people, and that's to solve our current and future flooding problems in Laramie. Now, it's a complex problem, and I appreciate that you did it because it's hard to solve a complex problem. Number two, I want to thank you for listening to people when they came forward and said, yeah, you tried to solve a problem, but there's some problems with your solution. I don't know how many of us have tried to solve complex problems before. I have. I worked in tech for 30 years, and every day was solving complex problems. And you know what? I never got it right the first time. Like the whole thing about just turn it off and turn it back on again, that doesn't always work, right? And so, you know, we all know that to solve a complex problem, you try something. You figure out what the unintended consequences are of your solution. You listen to people who are impacted by your solution, and you fix the thing. So I appreciate that you have put it on pause while you're trying to fix things that cropped up that you didn't expect. And in fact, I had something crop up that you probably didn't expect, and I wrote to you. Thank you for listening to me. I brought today my check for $9.90, which was my rebate, which I don't want. I would like to give it back to you to help you continue to solve this problem, okay? Because I had an issue. You guys addressed it. I appreciate that. That's how it works. That's how you worked it. And believe me, I want to be part of the solution. I understand that if you want services like your streets to not flood, you have to pay for those things, and we all have to pay for those things. It's a citywide problem. We need a citywide solution. So I want to help. I want to return this check to whoever wants to take my $9.90. Who wants to take my $9.90? And lastly, I just want to say, I appreciate you for being here, because you know what? I'm not doing it because it's too hard. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Peggy.
Mayor, I will put this check into Ms. McCracken's account with finance.
Okay, thank you. That's a good solution. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment on non-agenda items? All right. And so we will then move on to our first work session, and that is the Wyoming Association of Municipalities 2025 report. Welcome, Ashley Wham, Executive Director, and thank you both for driving over today from Cheyenne. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and it's great to see all of you council. And this is Erla Checky, who's also our administrative director. She is kind of the glue that holds our organization together and will be very instrumental in the wonderful summer convention that we're all planning together. So I wanted to make sure she came along to make sure I wasn't missing any details. So thank you so much for the time to talk about what we have going on with WHAM. Just to re-affiliate you with our organization. Our mission is to advocate for cities and towns' common interest and provide educational opportunity for WHAM's members. I'm going to go on a little tangent here about our advocacy efforts because they have kind of been under scrutiny, and I want to make it very clear of how we are advocating on your behalf right now. As a 501c6 private nonprofit association, WHAM has been the foundation of support for all of Wyoming's 99 municipalities since its organization in 1928. WHAM plays a pivotal role in providing vital educational resources that enhance the capabilities of all local leaders. With a mission centered on advocating for the collective interests of cities and towns, WHAM tirelessly promotes policies that prioritize local decision-making, ensuring that the voices of 68% of the citizens who reside within these communities are heard and respected. Through its efforts, WHAM not only fosters a spirit of collaboration among municipalities, but also inspires a brighter, more engaged future for all residents and businesses in Wyoming. WHAM is not a government entity. We are not created by statute. We do not exercise sovereign power, and we are not funded by any state appropriations. Our operations are supported by membership dues, which we thank you for, and also our non-dues revenue we use for our advocacy efforts, and we are governed by very tight nonprofit law. WHAM believes that the best government is the one that governs closest to the people. This principle is enshrined in Article 13, Section 1 of the Wyoming Constitution, which affirms home rule and empowers municipalities to make decisions tailored to their communities. Our advocacy is an extension that is part of that constitutional right, ensuring that local voices are present and heard when state legislation is crafted. When WHAM engages in advocacy, we do so on behalf of constituents that you represent. Our goal is not to grow government, but to protect local autonomy, reduce taxpayer burden, and ensure that policies reflect the realities you guys face on the ground. Whether it's infrastructure, emergency services, or land use, local governments are where policy meets people. So that was my opening. Thank you for letting me have that little soliloquy of, where we are today. But I'm going to, since we're not on a screen, I'm going to start off with, this is your membership and your voice. We provided some supplemental handouts for you that can just explain why WHAM, why are you part of this association and organization. Also, what we're out promoting, that the service that we provide to all of our residents in our states. This is a living and breathing document that we're trying to work on. And we're going to have a work session with our board of directors this fall to, make this more alive. So if you see of any other services that you guys provide that we can help tell the story of why municipalities exist and how we pool our resources to provide services to our residents to build strong communities, I would love your input on that. So we're trying to be responsive to our needs. Besides advocacy, our other part of our house is education. And so this fall, we are relaunching the Leadership Training Service Committee, and at your Region 1 fall meeting that will be in Cheyenne on September 18th, it's going to be at the Cheyenne Botanic Gardens. You guys will be electing someone from your region to stand up and be part of that educational component to make sure we are jiving with YOCMA, with WHAMCAT, with all of our different partners that are in the WHAM umbrella, and bringing you the education that you guys need. We also are working on a new municipal finance report that's being developed with the University of Wyoming for Center for Business and Economic Analysis. As you know, you might have had some legislators reach out to you this past session, pulling numbers from all sorts of places, trying to put your budget together. So instead of them making a magical spreadsheet, we're going to do that for them and make sure that they're comparing apples to apples and understanding why there might be some large, and tell that story of the large numbers that might be in reserve for a really massive sewer or water project, right? And you just don't go out and buy these things, and try to explain municipal finance, because it is very intricate and complicated and very unique to each municipality and your needs that you're serving. So we're really excited about that coming on. And I just got off the phone this afternoon with Vice President of the Senate, Tim Salazar, and he is like pumped about this. So they're hungry for this information. This is not a service LSO provides, and I think it's really helping with the legislature of understanding where our space is in that advocacy and education role on the behalf of our membership. Communications, we have a ton of webinars that have gone off. I know that some of you guys helped with us in participating in like the compliance with gun-free zones. Again, this is not a pro or oppose, it's the statutes in place. What do you guys need to do to be prepared to make sure you're executing the laws that are in place? And so we're trying to keep up with those. If you have anything that you have ideas on, let Justin or I know, and we'll make sure to get them in the hopper. Newsletter, the word from WHAM. Everybody in your organization is able to receive that through your membership. So I want to make sure that all your department heads are signed up. We are constantly scrubbing our database, making sure, if council members change or something happens, that we have everybody. But there's a ton of work I've been doing, like with WyoPass, with your planners and your community development guys. Your community development person just got on our newsletter. There's so much information for all of your people, so make sure we have everybody signed up. There's a lot of information, especially that's monthly. And then during legislature, we do weeklies. This week at the Capitol, and those come in like a YouTube format where we talk to you, so you can just kind of listen to it in the background, or if you want to read in detail. Workshops, we're really excited, and I included this in your packet because it wasn't quite ready when I sent it off last week to be in your packet. So tomorrow we're having a WHAM Equities Investment 101 with RBC Wealth Management. If you're not able to jump on, we always archive all these webinars. But now that we are able to do the direct investment in equities, how you do this responsibly, how to roll that out, that's a 101 tomorrow. But the communications planning workshop series, we're doing post-convention. If you saw our keynote, Kristen Gunther, that just helped with the platform of how to communicate responsibly with your constituents. We are doing tailor-made workshops for cities and towns. So you guys want to make sure you specifically register for your cities. And she's going to hopefully give you like a roadmap of how to like dig in a little bit deeper. And we're really pumped. Our board has really invested our assets into providing this for you. So please take advantage of that. The other thing is surveys. I know you guys get sick of surveys, but we're only asking because we're being asked, and it's usually by the state legislature or the executive branch. So we thank you for responding timely to those resurveys. But if you see them coming out, it's not just because like we're like, oh, I wonder what they do for this. It's usually because we're trying to compile information and do it in a methodical way so you guys aren't bombarded by other people. So FYI, that's the education. The next thing is just the upcoming webinars, just save the date on the next page, your fall region meeting, we just talked about that. And then events, I know this group is very involved with National League of Cities, and we have a group that's going with us. We're pretty pumped about that. That's gonna be in Salt Lake City. To have it so close and for us to potentially carpool and have some time over. And then our WHAM Winter Workshop is going to be, I can't believe we're already talking about February. None of us want to see summer go away, but that is really right around the corner. And for the first time ever, we are doing a locals only legislative reception with the County Commissioners Association. So we plan on having a huge reception, pretty much taking all of Little America's Ballroom with the county commissioners and WHAM together with the legislature. So having all the elected officials in one space will be kind of cool. So that's going to be February 11th, and you're not going to want to miss that. Next slide will just show you, now Region 1, you guys have some changing of the guards. We so appreciate Councilor Shumway, your service to our board for as long as you served, and you've served the city of Laramie, and you are going to be deeply missed, and you're still on speed dial. So you're not getting off the hook, because I know you guys know lots of institutional knowledge will be exiting when he, I think, retires for the 10th time or. But I very much enjoyed working with you, and we're pretty excited about our new Region 1 team. And so if you have issues, you want to make sure you look at who those contacts are for your region to travel that way up. If you look up the next page, just get, tiptoeing into the legislative update. The Legislative Leadership Committee just was reassigned at the state convention. And so for Region 1, you have Councilman Mark Rennie from Cheyenne, and he's also our chairman. He does a fabulous job. And if you guys have issues bubbling that are specific to you, you can call him or of course me anytime, but that's, we're trying to push the channels. I kind of hammered, you guys are pretty up to speed. The next couple slides shows like the new process. So as you're preparing for your next region meeting, this is a very timely update for me, for you. Make sure and we're going to look at our priorities that we have right now, but if there's any new priorities that have bubbled up during the interim that we need to solidify going into legislative session, this is your chance to put it into the WAM legislative process. And, we realign that timeline as the next slide to be proactive with the legislature. So, Region 1 meetings, we flesh out everything that's going on in the interim, which if you go to this next slide, that shows our 4 priorities of what we've stayed focused on. And then we say, hey, is anything else bubbled up that we need to be, concentrated on and mindful of our bandwidth going into the budget session? This is the time for us to talk through that. And so with the hope that, we have these interim or these legislative priorities for all of our members to know as they're talking to their legislators as we head into this session in February. And then when you guys come, just as we're going through this for the first year, when you guys come in February, you're going to want to let me know what your interim priorities are, because they ask for them at the end of session at the end of March, which Micah knows really well because she's on boots on the ground with us in a different capacity. But so we want to be more proactive in getting on the committee's agenda. So right now, our priorities are supporting home rule, defending local decision-making authority, protecting local government revenues, supporting the right of municipalities to associate freely and collaboratively, and sustainable funding for critical infrastructure. So the next slide I'm on to is the legislative update. And there's a lot going on. We've stayed very busy and very active during the interim, but I'm just going to focus on kind of like the big things that are themes that are going on, and I think the things that will matter most to you. In joint appropriations this past week, I spent time up in the lovely town of DuBois. I specifically like it there because we have a family cabin. So anytime I have to go there, it's twist my arm. But right now, with the first 4 pennies, the first 4 sales tax pennies, the distribution rate is 69% state, 31% local. Is everybody following me? WCCA and I have proposed from Senator French's bill that he had last session of looking at carving out some of that sales tax and memorializing direct distribution in there. So we proposed an 8% change. So it'd be 39% locals, 61% state. And of that 8%, it would be direct distribution model, and it would keep you whole. So last year, or last biennium, I think we were roughly at about 140 million. And that was like a really good year because of ARPA and all the different things going on. But, we've generally been around 120 to 130 million. We also went back and talked to the committee about, the loss in, over the last 25 years, the loss of revenue in sales tax on food, the severance tax reductions that we got. This was what really kicked it off in the early 2000s. And then most recently, our property tax reductions. And so that's where we got to that 8%, which would be 77 million per year, which is, 154 million a biennium. And we thought that way, if, with sales tax, if it grows, there's opportunity to grow with the community, right? And that would be a good thing for us to have, to eat what we kill and have sustainable funding for us. Right now, joint appropriations is very keen on this idea. It's just a matter of what that percentage point is going to be as they go through budgeting. So we'll know more. Stay tuned. You want to tell your legislators that we just need stable, predictable funding. Any questions on that?
Councillor Shumway.
Thank you, Ashley, for coming. The question I have is, obviously there's a hardship formula that's always benefited the towns such as Laramie. With this becoming a very set formula, does not that work against us having that extra boost that we have had in the past?
Mayor Cumby, Councilor Shumway, no, that it stays in the direct distribution formula, that 8% does. So it will still benefit you the same exact way. It only goes up in the direct distribution model. So if you do have a sales tax influx, like you did with the wind farms, this last year, your direct distribution went down a little bit. And there's that crazy formula, but we want to protect that formula that keeps our hardship counties taken care of. So that's different. So the sales tax underneath that will be regular distribution. The 8% is the direct distribution that they normally would have appropriated. This way, it goes into statute that it goes to you that way. We don't have to go every 2 years, if that makes sense. Capital finance. I know the last time I spoke with this group, we talked a lot about historical horse racing and gaming. That's been really one of our top priorities. House Bill 85 sadly died. Last year, we got it through the House 63-0, which is unbelievable. And then it just got stonewalled in the Senate. So we're working through those differences. And one of the things that we said, okay, if you kill the Senate, we need a task force on this because this is such a massive issue, specifically the local authorization for gaming. So I'm going to talk about select gaming here in a second. CapFin in the same breath has decided to talk about the revenues and how can we maximize the revenues there. So I just want to put it on your radar that they are looking at online sports wagering revenue remittance amendments, skill-based amusement games, and pari-mutuel and simulcast wagering for just going directly to the highway fund. It's not going to take away from us. I think what they're looking at is philosophically looking at gaming revenues and how do they put it back up to the state, throw it through the investments, and then it goes back through locals and then roads and maybe some other things they're looking to fund. So they are going to be considering it in CapFin. And then also, ironically, in their gaming central monitoring system. But in select gaming, going hand in hand, so we got our eyes on that. And then select gaming, they are looking at local approval for simulcasting. There was a halt in pushing that through as a committee bill last time because one of the members motioned, why can't we just do this through zoning instead of local authorization? So we're in the middle of that debate. Our concern with zoning, and if you have concerns with zoning, I would love to hear from you guys and your thoughts on that, is the welfare and reapproval and revocation process. Because once they're zoned, they're in. And if there's a problem, and you guys are kind of the poster child for this, given your demographics and your location, why would this be problematic? So we're working on compiling information on that right now. They'll be meeting again, I believe in October. And CapFin will be in a couple weeks in Cheyenne. If anybody's interested in more information, just let me know. Does anybody have any questions about gaming? Okay.
I see none.
Corporations was a week and a half ago, and that was a huge lift. There's a lot going on there. One thing that you guys should be concerned about is a Public Records Act revisions bill. And it's not because we don't want to be transparent. It's just the ability to do so in a compliant way with making sure we're protecting the information that we're supposed to guard, like human resources information that has to be redacted and personal information versus what is truly a FOIA and independent free information for everybody to see, and do it in a fiscal way while you're still trying to provide services. So they have a proposal on the table to go from 30 days to 10 days, which is very concerning for a lot of us. And so there's a working group on that. We're able to pump the brakes. We're working together with the partners on that, but know that that's out there. Next Gen 911, they looked at a bill to potentially put more money on the for our PSAPs and getting everybody up to speed for the next gen. And I think we're in like a $3 million deficit. To upgrade would be another $3 million. And then we think there's another $3 million in ongoing costs. We're working together with WASCOP to try to figure that out. There was a push to put it on as a phone line bill on your cellular bill, but that wasn't really the best way to capture that. So I don't think the committee is going to do anything about it, but Senator Steinmetz is looking at some other funds to pull from. They do believe it's a general fund thing that they need to fund. I think it should just come out of the budget. I think there's a lot of momentum there, but we're working on finalized cost and the mechanism to take care of that. Housing, I know, is a huge thing for you guys. It's huge for everyone. When I go to the National League of Cities, that's all all of us can talk housing all day, every day. Corporations has no appetite. They did allow WCDA to present on their strategic plan. We did have a philosophical conversation about, here are some things we can do. And if there are individual bills that come, they will come through the corporations committee. So the committee is very primed and ready for those. We're looking at, instead of killing fast track permits that they brought to us last year, that was extremely complex over a lot of different areas. So they had residential, corporate, industrial, like, you need to break these out. And so we're trying to do fast track permits through residential. We're working with WyoPass. I'm working with the planners to make sure we can do this correctly and do some regulatory reduction to make things go quicker. So we're doing a lot of regulatory reduction bills. The protest petition amendments, I think everybody was great about that last year. And then that was the bill that the House kind of intercepted and gutted it and stuffed it full of weird things. So it turned into a totally different bill. So we're going to try to bring back the regular bill. We would love to talk about tax increment financing. I just don't think there's any appetite. But we have like 3 or 4 other bills. There is some appetite on the Housing Investment Fund. We're the only state, which is interesting to me, that does not have one. So even if we can get that created, we've talked about that as well. But, what are the low-hanging fruits that we can do? And then also outside the legislature, we're trying to push initiatives with Wyoming Business Alliance, Wyoming WCDA, and other partners at the table of like, what can we do to be getting this conversation going? What do we need to be doing to be infrastructure ready for development? So stay tuned. There'll be a lot more on that. Elected Officials Association bills, they push that draft to the next meeting. I want to repeat, we do not use funds for lobbying. So this should not impact us at all. It will be a different way, maybe, that we do our books a little bit differently. We might segregate a little different, but other than that, we welcome it. That's fine. We just want to make sure they understand the ripple effects of, how this impacts our federal work and how this impacts other associations at the state level. And we just want to make sure we're able to freely associate and collaborate. So that's what's going on in corporations. Do you have questions? So that's a lot.
I see none.
Okay. And then revenue just met last week. A constant theme from corporations to revenue was there was a lot of conversations about a lot of really heavy subjects, and they didn't really take much action and moved it to the next meeting. So they looked at government property tax exemptions, which gets really weird for us, like when we're holding land for economic development or using land in a different way. And so, there was that court case last year with Evanston that had the truck stop on the west side of town on state lands, and whether or not they're able to charge property tax or not. And so they halted it. They're trying to sort through what's a governmental purpose, what's not. So they're going to relook at cases bill from last year, Senate File 185, that I have to dig back into. So we'll be in touch about that. Property tax, surprise, surprise, is still a conversation. They are still working on long-term homeowners tax exemptions, homeowner property tax revisions, which took away the 8-month criteria because the assessor said it was too hard to figure out who lives here 8 months out of the year and who doesn't, and certify that. So they're looking at different ways to segregate out homeowners in the state. Since they passed that constitutional amendment 2 years ago, they have some options available. I don't think they drafted the bills that they needed to take a bite at that apple. But there are some possibilities that they could, some individual bills could come out to help them in that space. But that's what they did with those revisions. But what they moved to the next meeting was really the meat and potato of the conversation, which was the constitutional property tax provisions, which would strike all property tax from the Constitution through a constitutional amendment. Property tax acquisition value, through a constitutional amendment. They're trying to figure out how to execute tax acquisition. So property tax acquisition value. So that would mean if you sell your house today for $300,000, the person that buys it for $300,000, that's what they'd be taxed on that value until they sell it or make improvements. And it sounds really simple, but there's a lot of trade-offs along the way with it. So they're realizing how complicated that is. The only state that does that right now is California. Idaho moved to do this a couple years ago and realized it was too difficult and stopped in the middle of it. They're also going to relook at residential real property taxable value, bringing that down from 9.5 to 8.3. They're looking at property tax appeals revisions and then also looking at electric generation tax. Any questions in revenue? Okay,
Actually,
two more.
sorry,
Vice Mayor?
really quick, thank you. Can you just, you had alluded to the change to the different categories of property, properties that can be taxed. Can you just, for the public, share how that changed from breaking out residential?
Mayor, Councilman Richardson. So basically there's 3 levels of taxation. You've got industrial at 11.5. Might need to go bring my taxpayer book back out. I think is it 10.5 for commercial and then 9.5 for residential? Can't remember. Yeah, I'd have to Google it and phone a friend real quick. And so the constitutional amendment, you weren't able to separate those classes further than a certain percentage point. And yeah, I did get it right. Industrial 11.5, minerals are at 100, and then all other properties at 9.5. And so this allows us, with the constitutional amendment, we can pull out a real property tax, and that will just pull out residential, and they'll set them at 8.3. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So management audit, there's a lot of interesting things going on with management audit. They are requesting the Department of Audit to conduct an audit of the Legislative Service Office, which is kind of ironic and interesting. So we're kind of watching that. Something that doesn't, impact you, but just know that it's happening with municipalities. Those that hadn't complied with the good list that we look at every fall of those that have complied with their audits, the committee is getting a little frustrated with. So they subpoenaed Manderson and Bear River and Fremont County Recreation District to come. So it's really awkward that they subpoenaed instead of just asked them to come. So they all have to come in front of the Management Audit Committee here in a couple of months to explain why their audits were bad. And so all of them are working to get them up to speed. But it looks like this committee has the appetite to really take action on bad audits. And then they also created a subcommittee to produce a report on findings of the fact of the Weston County Clerk and process of investigation and education from the last election cycle. So just kind of an FYI that's going on. And then finally, Select Water. We are really excited. We have appetite from both those chairmen to have a draft bill for inventory and funding mechanisms to kind of put together a big strategic plan of all the water and wastewater issues we have going on. So they're ready to take a bite at that apple, but it's got to start with what we don't know, what we don't know. So that's it for the legislative report. Any questions?
I see none.
Oh, I do have one comment.
Vice Mayor.
On that. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to extend a thanks, because the amount of, I know that this idea of having somebody who is tracking all these bills isn't always something that folks at the legislature are big fans of. However, the number of bills and things that are happening, there's no way that the general public could keep up without having someone like you on top of it and reporting out on what these things are. So I just want to say thank you for that work. It's a ton. You are at every meeting all the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a good team with us, and council members part of that team, that we have a lot of boots on the ground. And any of you that want to come fight in the hallways with me, there's a lot of benches to sit on. We'd love to have you. So, and do know during session, they're back down because it's all old news, but we try to be transparent to the public, transparent to legislators. I mean, there's no secret sauce. Like, we have our guiding principles up, and that's when we set our legislative agenda. We're just trying to protect everyone, right? And this is why we like this bill, and this is why this might cause complications for us. And so we have all the bills we're tracking up online in real time, and we try to update that once a week. On the next slide is other state activity. Besides the legislature, which they don't understand, we do have a full-time job of running an association and making sure we're connecting you with resources and information. And there's a lot of other entities we follow. State Land Investment Board, they just finalized the rules on the direct investment in equities. And so that is like going to be done. So the rulemaking's done. I think we're almost good to go on that. And then Wyoming Business Council, as you guys all know, there's a big rule change coming for the 25% match. I don't know any community that's excited about that or has the ability to do so in the current environment we're in. Mm-hmm. And so I've been working really closely with the Wyoming Business Council, and I'll be testifying to that at their Sheridan quarterly board meeting when they look at taking up these rules. Ironically, they did put it in statute, and the Minerals Committee did shoot that down. So they can change the rules without the legislative change, but they were going to memorialize it in statute, and nobody moved it at the Minerals meeting. Wyoming Gaming Commission is another thing that we're on top of because of all the gaming activity. I made sure that you have all these links to go through and check. The annual report is really quite fascinating. I had somewhere in my notes, just so you guys know, like with historic horse racing, all the municipalities received over $10 million last year. This is a big business. And the counties had 11 million. So it's a $21 million appropriation, of revenue source for us. Just in HHR, that's not skilled games or online wagering. So all those numbers are on there. It's really quite fascinating to kind of drill down and see who's here and what's going on and where there's activity within the state. But they meet quarterly, and we're at all those meetings as well. Wyoming Community Development Authority, I've talked about them several times in this presentation. We're working with them pretty closely in collaboration on housing needs. And I would totally point you to go look at their needs assessment that they just push out. Finally, federal initiatives that we're working on. We did the NLC fly-in in March that I was lucky to be joined by Council Member Shumway, and we had a really great time, and I think we're really effective. Obviously our delegation is mighty but nimble and easy to work with, but we learned a lot about, all the federal changes that are coming at us. I went back in July to learn more about the nuclear industry coming. As you know, that's coming all along the eastern side of the state and then southwest part of the state and impacting about a dozen of our communities. So I'm just trying to gather resources for all of our members, and Gillette invited me to go, so I was lucky enough to go and meet with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, and really start compiling those resources and understanding what we're kind of getting ourselves into. We have been, I had a standing call, but then they just changed contacts, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But we've been collaborating with the White House Intergovernmental Agency. So every agency has an IGA office, and that's kind of our liaison. We have standing conversations with the Wyoming federal delegation. I know that's not a big deal. Everybody can reach out to any of our federal delegation anytime, but we do have a standing call if you need help with anything. A big, beautiful bill. We track that pretty closely. We've been sending out a ton of information about what that did. We were really happy that they did not, they were looking at taxing municipal bonds. They were looking at eliminating CDBG. All of that stayed intact. So that worked out pretty well. EPA, we've been working with pretty closely. I'll be at Petroleum Association tomorrow. That's going to be here in Laramie. And actually the secretary for EPA is going to be here. So that's pretty cool that he's coming to the state of Wyoming. But as you guys all know, we're under this lead service, can't remember this acronym, lead service line replacement and the lead and copper inventory requirements under the lead and copper rule revisions. And that, I'm hearing we're going to have some good news on the timeline and the methods and the metrics of how we have to accomplish that, because it's an unfunded mandate, as everybody knows. And this is one of the reasons we've got Select Water kind of kicked into gear to help us with this, because we just don't have the demographics to support this big of an infrastructure change right away. And then we're watching all of, President Trump, any of his energy policies, specifically his nuclear energy. Obviously, there's a spotlight on our state, and he's very supportive of nuclear development. So it's kind of an ironic time in our state with the friction there. And then the support of the Surface Transportation Block Grant, because we're worried about SFRs being eliminated. They are looking at a 90% cut right now. I've been working with the Congresswoman Hageman's office about that. So FYI. And then finally, opportunity zones. President Trump brought those to us on his first round of being in office. They're back, and City of Laramie has a lot of opportunity with opportunity zones and housing. So I would direct you to some of these websites to kind of look into. And finally, I just had a little slideshow of you guys participating with us. And so we appreciate you being good neighbors, because we are in Cheyenne. And I'll stand for questions.
Councilor O'Doherty.
This is more of a comment, but because we've had scrutiny about the importance of WHAM, I wanted to point out that I believe all of us were trained in the finance requirements required by the state now. So we did that through WHAM, had really good training. So thank you for that.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you. And we are working on building that program out with that leadership training committee. So if there's more things that come at us and more things that you think that we need, we really want to bolster our education program. So more to come.
Further comments or questions? Okay. Ashley, thank you so much. I'd like to turn it over to are you completed?
What, the MOU? Just
okay.
With the event.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mayor?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so one of the other reasons we're here, and thank you for, that was a long report. Thank you for bearing with me. So we just wanted to walk through real quickly the MOU. We are thrilled to be back in Laramie for the summer convention next year. I walked into my first convention last year, and so this will be fun to do with you guys from beginning to end. And it sounds like you guys are just already going, so this is going to be great. Since you guys just did it 4 years ago, I think you guys are pretty familiar with what's going on. But we just sent over this MOU just to let you know, like, what we're responsible for and what you're responsible for. It sounds like.
Oh, sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
Councilor Newman has his hand raised. Just make you aware.
Okay. Councilor Newman, you have a question or a comment?
Isn't this another agenda item? So it's a totally different one?
Is this the next work section?
I think so.
Okay. So Ashley, we're going to pause for a moment and take public comment for a minute. That's okay. And after that, then we'll start this second part. Thank you. I thought you were finishing up the first part. So thank you, Councilor Newman. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Seeing none. Ashley, now you can begin work session 2, and that's WHAM 2026 Summer Convention.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Newman, for keeping us honest here. Okay, so I'm just on the second page with convention expectations that just talks about the WHAM team will collaborate with the City of Laramie on logistics. I think you guys are already a step ahead on all this stuff. For our administrative director already has the hospitality blocks. We've got our list for convention of where we're going. But we are responsible for that exhibitor setup and tear down of a trade show. We'll help you with, we'll do all the convention registration. We'll help direct attendees. If you guys have extra staffing to help with us, staffing that registration booth is wonderful. My daughter interned for us last summer, and that worked out well. Any UW kids that wants to come, they're more than welcome to come help us, because there's a lot of people in and out all day. And then again, we'll manage that exhibitor show. For the programming, we will be responsible for organizing that meeting and agenda development and coordinating all the speakers and content for the event. There is some content curation for you guys. I'll get to in 1 second, but as far as like the meat and potatoes of the convention, and then we'll work on those education programs, presenter selection, and we'll take care of all those costs. We put on the membership dinner and the WAMS award program, all the costs associated with it. We'll do a ton of marketing. We'll do all the electronic registrations, agendas, invitations of all guests. So we'll do the normal legislative invites, state electeds, those elected officials and special guests. But if you guys have any special people, just let us know. And then sponsorship, we'll work together, so you guys have a list of our current sponsors. Our sponsors are usually at a national and state level, where you guys are going to be working with your sponsors that are local to your community. We'll work on coordinating those lists. And then so for you, sounds like you guys are on top of the convention venue and making sure you're securing that facility. We did hear that there might be renovation going on, so we're going to look into that. Yeah. And then helping with AV and IT. We like to have 6 meeting rooms because we, as you guys all know that have attended, we have our region meetings and there's breakout sessions. We can, parlay those off if we have to be creative. But that's why we like to have 6 designated spaces. The trade show, again, since you guys have gone through that, here's the details on that. I'm not going to talk through all this. Lodging, we already know. Catering service. So this is the big thing, is that you guys host the welcome reception and or dinner, whether or not it's heavy hors d'oeuvres or you want to do a sit down. And then you do 1 lunch and 3 breaks. And then the cool thing that I think makes this really fun for as our convention travels around the state is the community attractions. So this is where we need to work together on the schedule. It's June, what day through what day? June 3rd through the 5th. So that's a Wednesday. So Wednesday we'll do these community attractions and guest tours and mobile workshops. And these are just, we put down some ideas of things you can highlight. It sounds like you guys are already ahead on this and have so many cool things to showcase. I know it'll be hard to decide what to go participate in. And so we'll want to just make sure we have that planned accordingly and together with you, with your committee. And then with the budget, we do an incentive and promotion to the convention, and we reimburse the host city for 10% of all the registration fees. Event timeline, basically this fall, we'll start to tour the convention venue, review those lodging options, and we can, make it more granular with your committee and figure out when we want to start talking about getting it framed in place. And then we can hold monthly conference calls, however we want to set that up with your committee. And then spring, do another walk through if needed. And then we'll be here on boots on the ground the day before. So that's basically it. We just want to make sure know who's on first.
Okay. Councilors, questions and or comments? Councilor O'Doherty.
Do you all meet at the same, do they meet at this convention too? So city folks and city managers and. I didn't have my microphone on. I was wondering if the other ones are associations, are they part of WAM? And then do they meet at this event too?
Mayor, through you. Yes, they do. And so that's another reason we like to have that many breakout rooms. And so YOCMA, you generally meet on Wednesday.
We do. We meet as part of the convention.
But they still attend. Yep. WAMCAT, sounds like they are doing a whole convention on their own with the fall, and WAM does attend that, but they still come and attend, and we make sure all the programming. That's why we're doing this leadership training committee. It's making sure we're having programming for everybody that's there and able to do it together.
Further questions or comments? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for putting this together. I also want to just highlight for the folks who are here that we included the 2025 summer convention, and you can get a good sense of what some of these educational sessions are about. I know that we really walked away. There was the housing discussion that we came away with some new ideas. And the EMS conversation was really impactful, which I think a city manager ended up talking to one of our senators about a potential bill moving forward. So there's a lot of benefit to this, and even the interaction with other municipalities outside of sessions and learning what they're doing and understanding is super beneficial. So take a look at that if anyone is interested to see what the meat and potatoes, as Ashley said, is about.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Further questions or comments? I just want to thank you so much for your presentation and for your work with this. And I'd also like to acknowledge our city manager's staff, the city clerk, Nancy Bartholomew, and also Nancy Oakland Potter, in the work that they have done. It's been pretty amazing. So we're very fortunate and to have them. So I'm excited that we're having the conference here. I think it's going to be a wonderful time to show off Laramie. It may be one of the first summers that 3rd Street is not under construction. Hopefully. And we're really looking forward to showcasing and to having people experience Laramie and to hear their ideas and their impressions. We're excited, and thank you for choosing Laramie to host the conference.
Mayor and council, it's our pleasure. And I mean, everybody loves to come to our university's hometown. You know, it's a homecoming for everyone, specifically me. You don't have to twist my arm to come here ever. I think our graphic design wall, you know, we did the little antelope and we gave everybody sunglasses and kind of had a theme last year just to kind of spice up Cheyenne, because everybody has to come through Cheyenne for legislature. But you know, we'll come up with some fun themes together with your working group. I love the eagerness, and I think it'll be a great event. So
me too. Thank you. So city manager, do you have anything or okay? Next, I'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? All right. Seeing none, then Ashley, I think that concludes the WAM, the 2 work pieces of WAM, and you're certainly welcome to stay for our last one, which may interest you, and that is our work session on housing, rental, home incentives, a program for landlord recognition. City manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you. We will talk about 2 things this evening. The first will be the concept for a landlord recognition program. And then secondly, I believe City Clerk Bartholomew will give you a quick update on the rental housing code and the licensing and registration program. So I wanted to kick off by introducing the speaker for tonight. As you know, Council, one of your adopted goals for this year was to establish a program to recognize outstanding achievements and professionalism in Laramie's private residential rental market. So this summer, we had 2 interns in the city manager's office. One was Cameron Murfitt, and then Samuel Blysifer was our second intern. Cameron Murfitt could not join us this evening, but he started the research to put before you tonight a concept for that recognition program for our landlords and property managers. When he left his internship this summer, then we passed the ball to Samuel Blysifer. He's going to be presenting to you tonight the culmination of the research that Cameron started and Samuel finished this summer. That is the basis for the concept program that you'll see tonight. So let me tell you a little bit about Samuel. He's from Casper. He has bachelor's degrees in economics and in sociology. He is, as I said, an intern in the city manager's office, but he's also working over in the Parks and Recreation Department as a business assistant this summer. And he was originally working on a project that we're eager to bring some data to you in coming weeks about, and that is, given his background in economics, he's been working with me to look at the Community Partner Funding Program, which is a piece of your general purpose tax monies, and to conduct an economic impact analysis to determine how those monies impact the community widely and broadly after appropriated by the city council. So that's what I really had Samuel working on, and then he kind of picked up the ball and rounded out the landlord recognition program. So with that, I'm going to bring Samuel up to the podium. As you know, you don't have your screens tonight, but the PowerPoint presentation is in your workbook, and Samuel will take you through that.
Good evening, Samuel. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be in front of you guys tonight. As Janine said, my name is Samuel Blysifer. I'm interning for the city manager's office. And I'm working on a whole host of, or a few projects, and this is one of them, the Landlord and Property Manager Recognition Program. Like Janine said, this was started by Cameron Murfitt, and he really put the idea forward. And when he had to go, I helped finalize and revise this project. And so I will go on to the purpose. So the purpose of this program is to create incentives for landlords and property managers in Laramie who go beyond the expected standards set in the Laramie Municipal Code 8.80 and the Wyoming State Statute Title 1, Chapter 21, Article 12. And we hope to increase the quality of the renting experience here in Laramie by creating positive incentives for landlords to go beyond just what is the bare minimum. So we hope to do this through public recognition. Hope that the city will have a directory of recognized landlords who meet these qualifications, so that we can shout them out on social media and whatnot, and so that the public sees that, and it creates people going to landlords who stand out as being exceptional, and hopefully this creates a good feedback loop of positive incentives. So under the program components, this program will provide a clear criteria that demonstrates going beyond the minimum housing requirements, so that interested property managers will have concise guidelines to follow for qualifications. So we want to make sure that these standards for going above and beyond are not vague or not up for interpretation, and we will have a clear criteria during the implementation phase. Once they're qualified, they will receive a public shout out from the city social media and placed in an online directory of qualifying candidates. There will be 2 tiers of recognition. The first tier will be certified partners who will meet all the criteria for public recognition for going above and beyond the standards. And then there will be a gold tier of recognition, which will be landlords who meet the previous criteria, but also receive nominations from tenants or previous tenants. We'll also have educational material for both landlords and tenants. For landlords, it'll be things in communication with tenants, proactive repairs and whatnot. And for tenants, it'll be know your rights sort of thing, and how they should communicate with their landlords. And on to the next slide. So I have some examples of similar programs. A lot of large cities have similar-ish programs that deal with helping tenants and landlords and property managers and whatnot. But I think the best example of this is the Tulsa Gold Star landlord program, which kind of mostly aligns with what we're trying to go for here. But they have a tool for public shout outs and for public recognition of landlords. They have a clear criteria of what they need to do to qualify. And the incentives they have are very intriguing. So here, yeah, so they get promotion from the city. They get prioritized application processing for the emergency and rental utility programs, and they get referrals to preferred and trusted community tenants within the city. And that's been helpful for about 250 tenants and 20 landlords, according to their metrics. And this program was only started in 2021. And so we're not going to borrow from this program one-to-one, but I think it is a good inspiration point for what we should try to replicate here in Laramie. And so now, just for the current housing data, as of July 3rd, there are 2,138 registered rental housing units, and there are a total of 6,491 rental dwelling units, which I think is good context for knowing how many people this will potentially affect. And so next I have the implementation timeline. So we kind of think it'll take about 4 to 5 months to get the program fully running, with the first 2 months going in kind of developing all of the formal processes, the criteria, the guides, and all of the forms they will need to do. And then by month 3, we want to try to reach out to about 5 to 10 landlords, and just as kind of a testing phase to see what's working, what's not working. And then if that goes well, we can begin a full application process where landlords can apply to the program by providing proof of their criteria and demonstrating that they are qualified. And then after that, that will be in the month 5, and that's when we can have the program fully sustaining and fully running on schedule. And so for next, I'll go on to the tools that are needed for this program. So we can do this program at this time by hiring no new employees because we have the labor infrastructure to do this because we only think it'll be about 20 to 40 hours a year of work for this program to function once it's fully off the ground. And we're going to have most of the application process be self-administered. So we're going to provide the application, the criteria to the public, and then the landlords will apply themselves, and the tenants, will do the nominations and whatnot. And so we're minimizing the amount of, we don't want to send an army of inspectors out we don't want to hire a whole lot of people, because this program could be done with the existing infrastructure we have already. And so on the next page, kind of the duties that'll go along with running this program will be standardly enforcing the Laramie Municipal Code, providing educational content to the landlords and the tenants, generating reports. We also, for qualifying landlords, we want to offer no-fault pre-inspections. So if they have a new property and they are qualified, we want to offer them, you can have a free no-fault inspection. So you don't have to worry about anything. And so we're not going to hassle you if you have code violation of this new property, just so you can get them fixed before registration. We'll have a speedy, priority application and registration process. And it'll be managing social media and outreach, so they can reach out to the public through Instagram or whatnot, and to shout out these landlords. You may even seek to work with the branding iron or the boomerang to get this program in front of renters. So on to the benefits for participating. So obviously the property managers who will qualify will get a shout out on social media, and this will amplify their housing services to potential renters. And so the renters know that these landlords have gone above and beyond to make sure they're providing the best quality renting experience possible, the best communication styles, because we want to encourage a more quality renting environment in Laramie. And because it's a college town, I think it'll be really good for the Thrive Laramie goals of projected population growth and whatnot. So so the public recognition is really the biggest benefit, but also the speedy application processes, and the no-fault inspections as well. And then the kind of the continuation of that, the resources that'll be available. Along with the public shout out, we'll have the know your rights and rental best practices guide, part of the educational content. We'll have a public frequently asked questions hosted by the city for landlords and tenants. We'll have newsletters and annual reports that'll kind of go through how the program's going. It'll be mostly self-administered process. So it's not like a whole lot of extra work on our end. And then we're also thinking about having a anonymous feedback form for people to submit, feedback or concerns about landlords or their tenants. And that'll all be anonymous. That won't be public facing. That'll be for us to see, just so we can kind of keep track of is this landlord disqualifying, getting a lot of complaints? Are these complaints valid? And just kind of keeping a pulse on that. And so for the legal requirements, this program complements very well the Laramie Municipal Code 8.80 and the Wyoming State Statute Title I, Chapter 21, Article 12, with both deal with the guidelines for renting property in Wyoming and renting property in Laramie. And we hope that this will be a very positive and a very stress-free approach to enforcing the Laramie Municipal Code and enforcing good practices. This is not supposed to be a punitive program at all for landlords not participating. It'll just be status quo. It'll be business as usual. There's no punishments in this program unless you're a qualifying landlord and you do something to unqualify or break the code. So we hope to see reduced code violations, and we hope to see a stronger accountability from both landlords and tenants in that relationship. And we hope to see the quality of housing overall improve as a result of this program. And then because this program is sustainable within our current infrastructure, I don't anticipate that this will cost a whole lot. I'm in the range of about $1,000 to $2,500 annually about. And that's not really new money. That's just going to be built into labor time and whatnot. We already have all of the tools we need, Microsoft Forms and Word and the city website and whatnot. But if we needed more funding for whatever may come up, there are the general city funds, and then there are a whole host of housing related grants. So we have the state housing grants, community development block grants, and the housing and urban development grants. And then on the next page, so just for the branding, again, this is supposed to be a very positive program. This is not supposed to be scary or anything like that. So, all of the slogans and the visuals and stuff are going to be focused on, lifting everybody up. So Cameron coined these Thrive Laramie, where quality housing lives, and raising the standard, rewarding the best. This will still be developed in the development phase. So we're not set on that. And yeah, and that's all I have for my presentation. Wow. You have any questions?
Thank you, Samuel. Counselors, questions or comments? Counselor O'Doherty?
Question, it seemed like you were conflating property managers and landlords. So I understand that some property managers get frustrated with the owners because they see a need for repair and the owner doesn't want to spend the money. So I was wondering, is this going to be certifying the property managers for that particular property?
Mayor, council, that's a good question. I think that'll be kind of worked out in the development phase, but if I had an answer for you right now off the what I would suspect happen, I think we would more focus the landlords who have who have more communication with the tenants and more communication with people in that property and have more agencies over that property. So if it is a property manager who doesn't even live here, but they have landlords here in Laramie, I think it would be better to work with them, but that'll all be finalized in a development phase.
Counselor Behill, City Manager, you have a comment?
If I could piggyback on Samuel's answer, which was appropriate, but I would remind the council, Title 8 of your municipal code, the rental housing habitability standards, does allow, well, first of all, it requires that property owners who rent residential property have a local representative. So many of them have actually engaged property managers. Under that title of code, the property manager can actually apply on their behalf to become licensed and registered. So that is in part why we acknowledge that property management or individual property managers could be eligible for the program as well as the landlord, because many absentee-ish landlords have somebody performing locally on their behalf.
Thank you. Counselor Vigil?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Samuel, for this awesome presentation. I know it's a lot of work. And so I just want to thank you and all of your work this summer. I hope you've enjoyed your internship. And then also just wanted to say, I think this is a really positive idea. So often when we talk about the rental market in Laramie, we're talking about all the issues and the problems and all the bad things. And I think this is a really, positive opportunity, and we could make a difference with this program. And then, maybe just another comment too. My day job, I work with a lot of young people who might be renting for the first time. Their parents have never been to Laramie, don't know how to help them through the rental process. And, to have a program like this that recognizes all of the awesome landlords in our community, I think would be just life-changing, quite frankly. So thanks for all your work. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate all of this information. And it was great to have those links to see what some of the other areas are up to. Two thoughts on this. One, I know that the Vulnerable Adult Task Force is currently working on renter education. And so if there's an opportunity to connect with that group so that we don't have two entities working on the same thing at the same time, I think that would be really helpful. And that is, I can put you in touch with the woman who is kind of heading that up. I think she would really love to have some additional assistance in how to manage this and get this kind of rolling. So that is great. Secondly, I think the other piece that I would really hope that we encourage is an early partnership with the university and with I know that at one point, I think the Town and Gown was talking about something with this and making sure that they are promoting this in conjunction with us so that that resource is not just coming from the city, but that it's coming from the university as well. Because without their involvement, I don't know how successful it would actually be in getting the word out. So I love this idea, though. It's great.
Thank you. Go ahead, Samuel.
Thank you for the words. And I agree with you. I didn't really mention it in the presentation, but it is very important. We have a lot of human capital here in Laramie, a lot of unique opportunities. And I think collaboration with that human capital is going to be really good and it's going to be necessary. So, I think reaching out to the branding iron was something I was definitely wanting to do if this were to go through, but also deeper collaboration with, people from the university or other organizations because, and especially with the university, because there's a lot of young students, they care a lot about, their renting experience. And so that'll be good to hear from them, but also like working with the landlords in the same way, because they also want to have a positive renting experience here in the town. So thank you for the words.
Thank you. Councilor Vigil?
Thank you, Mayor. And maybe this is a question more for our city manager, but so y'all are interns, you and Cameron. And so when you leave, who might be point of contact for this? Because I'd love to have maybe this presentation at a town gown meeting.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, good. Hive mind.
Mayor, Council Vigil? Sick. I think I'm not sure what Cameron's up to. I never met him. He was working in the mornings and I would work in the afternoons. So we never crossed paths. But you can definitely reach out to me, splicer@citylaramie.org. I think, I'm not sure if Cameron still has his, or not, so I don't know how to contact him, but I plan on being here until December. So I'm
good.
not sure. I'm not sure what that timeline looks like, but yeah. Thank you.
Counselor O'Doherty.
I think this is relevant to our discussion. I've been keeping an eye out for loved ones for apartments in Laramie, and we'll see things on Facebook that look like somebody's advertising a rental. And I look at the address and I'm like, oh, that's in my neighborhood. That would be cool. And then I look, no, they don't, that's not the same property. So there's some scam artists on Facebook. The chief is nodding his head. I imagine this would give renters some protection against such people because they'd be certified that they actually have a property.
Councilman O'Doherty. Yeah, I mean, we already have a list of like registered properties. And so, I mean, obviously that doesn't stop the scam artists because you just saw them on Facebook, but I think this program does shine light on other things going on in the renting world, and that might be something for, another department to focus on. But I think this, that point brings up, like, there could be multiple avenues of ways of working on the rental market here in Laramie, and I think that's a good comment. Yeah, I only made a Facebook account just to be able to like find places to live, because I know that Facebook is not a great place for truth and thoughtful discussion.
Well, I have a couple of questions. First of all, to follow up on the Vice Mayor's comment, Dr. Virginia Vincenti is heading up that vulnerable adults, and Councilor Vihill's been involved in that. I've been involved. Councilor O'Doherty, I think you have. So it was involvement in that group that got us involved in housing almost 2 years ago, and where we began to recognize that there were a dozen groups out there trying to work on housing. And we came together in the Albany County Housing Coalition, which has been in existence for about 18 months. And we're about to have our final closure on September 8th. So I'd like to get that link to you, to connect you with Dr. Vincenti. I'm also curious with Know Your Rights and the rental best practice. Are you connecting with some of we've discovered there are existing resources. One has been put out by UW Extension Services has put together something, and I just was contacted by a rental housing group that's based in Casper. So are you connecting with some of these groups that have already put these materials together?
Mayor Cumbie, so I have not previously contacted them as of this point. But if we're going to move forward with this, that'll be absolutely done. I think.
And do you need some of those locations and contacts?
Oh, if you would like to send me those, that would be
okay. Because
very well.
I wouldn't want you to repeat what we just spent about 8 months working on, trying to find. So we'll make sure that you get those resources. We'll connect you with Dr. Vincenti. And the other thing, Town and Gown, as you get this developed a little more and are ready, we have been discussing for at least the past year both the development of the Know Your Rights and best rental practice, and we kind of nickname it the savvy renter, and to teach people how to negotiate sometimes their very first rental. The other thing that we talked about in Town and Gown was having a list similar to what you are talking about, where outstanding landlords are certified as being such, which I like what you're doing with the certification, with the decal that will go on the apartment. And we've envisioned that that would all be part of recognizing best practice. And when I'm out in the public, there are landlords that are extremely proud of the work they do, of the care that they, actually, Dr. Vincenti's one of them, of the care that they give to their residents. And so I think this is a really positive approach, and it will help to get positive, truthful information to the public. And I think connecting somehow through Town and Gown is going to be an important connection to prevent duplication. And so we're discovering there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work, and the work you're doing really has the potential to connect with some of these others. So those of us who have these connections, let's pull them together so we can pass them on to Samuel and start to kind of de-silo things and bring it together. So I think your presentation has been very informative. I find the process you're conceptualizing to be positive reinforcement for positive, caring behaviors in our community. And I think these outstanding landlords deserve the recognition, and that sometimes we focus so much on the problems, it seems like every landlord in town's a tyrant, and that's just not true. And I think this gives us an avenue to acknowledge best practice. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll turn it over now to, did you have anything further, City Manager, or maybe we go to public? Okay. Well done, Samuel.
Yeah, very well done. So Council, it sounds like your feedback on this program concept is positive.
Yeah.
And you're willing for us to proceed forward. We have a general green light. In terms of the integration with the other efforts in town, of course, I'm working with Samuel. I'm aware of those efforts, so I will make sure that those dots get connected. There's no intention to duplicate here. And if you would like to have a Town and Gown presentation, I'm sure that that would be arranged, because as Samuel said, he'll be with us through the fall. So that's
yes.
wonderful.
And I think Councillor Vigil is our liaison to Town and Gown, and I still sit on the executive committee now, I guess. But and I guess councilors, if you have, and what we found in our work, City Manager, these past couple of years is that a lot of us with good intention were duplicating. And so as we begin to share information, it really makes our work a lot more efficient. So I would say, counselors, if you have a connection, a link, for instance, to Know Your Rights, to rental best practice, to things that might be useful to Samuel, should we send to you and city clerk?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll make sure, I mean, we're of course overseeing internships, so we'll make sure that they get the material they need. And I'm aware of much of that material. So if there's anything you send me I'm not aware of, I'll be sure to flag that. That'd be great.
Do you have it in one place?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
is it like in this place?
Yeah, exactly. No, I've
the
been
place where all is stored.
Yeah, no, I've been aware for years of the university's work with tenants' rights and that sort of thing in their guidebooks. So this is just a concept, of course, and we didn't want to proceed forward without seeing if we were kind of going in the right path that you would like to see us go.
I like it.
I wanted to offer one other observation as we close this out, and that is, so for tonight, Council, for this work session, I'd originally envisioned 3 housing-related topics. We've had to postpone one of those housing-related topics just based on workload around other things that have happened the last month. But the item that has been postponed to a future housing work session in October is related to the budget amendment that you passed for a landlord grant or loan program to help property owners to upgrade properties in order to meet those habitability standards under Title VIII of Municipal Code. I think it would be bad to not recognize that this landlord recognition program could also give preferential application status to folks in this other subsequent program that we envision developing. So I regret that we weren't able to be a little more further along with that. As you know, Councillor Newman had a concept around that landlord grant and loan program. I did a pretty extensive review, sat down with Councillor Newman. I think it's probably been about a month ago now, to bounce those ideas back and forth off of him, make sure that I wasn't moving outside of what he had intended, if you will, if I was sort of staying true to the vision that he had, but to fine tune it and bring it into a state that it actually could be administered within our form of government and within this community with the resources that we have. So I think Councillor Newman and I had a really good conversation. I just have not had the time to go in and integrate all of those extensive changes, given sort of all the other things that have popped up the last month. So we will be talking about that, I hope, in October, but bear in mind that this landlord recognition program could cross over there and make folks who are recognized as having that best practice preferential applicants under the Landlord Financial Assistance Program. With that, I think that wraps up this first of 2 housing-related topics, and then I think our city clerk's ready to talk to you about the status of Title VIII and our rental registration.
Before we do that, I'll go to ask, are there any public comments on this agenda item?
No, it's still the same agenda.
Oh, it is? Oh, sorry, city clerk.
You are totally fine.
Tracking well tonight. Okay.
No, you're good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So included in your packet was another presentation developed through the City Manager's Office. The intention of this presentation is to just give you some updated information about how the rental housing program is going. So as you know, this is located in 8.80 of Laramie Municipal Code. Efforts have been made to publicize the ordinance, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We have data showing where we are today. Some visual aids are included in your presentation, as well as final tips and takeaways. So we'll go ahead and get started with the review of Laramie Municipal Code 8.80. It was adopted on January 4th, 2022 and amended December 2022. Implementation schedule was approved by City Council in 2022. It kind of gave a step-by-step of how things would be implemented. If you remember, the egress and ingress windows were on a delayed schedule to allow more time for landlords to be able to put those in. That did take full effect. So now everyone has to be fully compliant as of January 1st, 2025 to become registered. The next slide goes over the public information and notification process. We had advertisements in the local newspaper. Approximately 22,490 notices went out via paper utility bills for 3 billing cycles in February, March, and April of 2022 or 23. Repeated social media posts, newspaper publications, and newsflash notifications. We had direct mailings to county designated rental property owners on April 5th of 2024. What that was is we got a list in the city manager's office from the Albany County Assessor of properties that they had noted that they're potential rental properties. So Owen Schultz went through that list And we developed a letter to send out. And then we did a mass mailing to those individuals to let them know if their property is in fact a rental property, that it did need to be registered, and here's how you can do it kind of information. So we did get quite a few registrations based off from that mailing. And so that is an effort we would like to redo here in the near future, get an updated list from them, compare it to what we currently have for registered properties, and then do another mass mailing. So no new publications have gone out since then. Letters have been mailed out to new potential rental properties that we're notified of. Our utility billing office is also letting us know as they get new connection forms, hey, this is a rental property. We check to see if it's licensed. If it's not licensed, we are working to notify them. Please get we do have a rental housing code. Here's how to apply, and get them through that process. So if they have questions, which often they do, they'll call our office and ask about what that process looks like. If they're confused about the registration on the new site, we'll walk them through that and stuff. The county, as we were just talking about, had provided a list of 2,876 potential rental property addresses. So as we talked about, we did do that mass mailing. The cost of that was approximately $2,000. I don't know if that list had been obtained in June, as the slide says here. That I'm not certain of, but like I mentioned, we are planning to go ahead and contact the assessor's office to get that list if it hasn't already been completed. We had 71 letters returned. As you know, sometimes people move away, things aren't updated as they should be. So we also had some responses back from the letters that we sent with folks that are saying, hey, I'm already registered. So it's possible that things crossed in the mail. We sent out the letter, but they had just registered, They're living in the unit rather than renting. A lot of the landlords had made the decision that instead of renting, they decided to just go ahead and keep the property as their own and live in it. So we had some changes to that living situation. They were no longer the owners. Some of them had recently sold their properties. And sometimes that information can take a little while to get updated. And some of them had family, like their son or daughter, not actually renting from them, but living in the house as they were going to school here. So they did not meet the criteria for an oral or written agreement for the rental property. Rental housing complaints. As of August 21st, 2025, we had 77 rental housing complaints. And I say complaints, but also included in that number were also unregistered properties that the assistant city manager has addressed. So they're not all complaints, formal complaints. Mm-hmm. And that was a number since May 20th of 2024. The reason we gave you this time frame was the last update that you received was as of May 20th. So we're just trying to give you updated numbers here. So 70 of those complaints were informed to the city that they were unregistered rental units. 43 are now registered between the complaint date and August 21st. 26 units were still unregistered. 1 unit was identified as an owner-occupied residence. 8 complaints were made regarding habitability standards. 1 complaint informed the city of an unregistered unit as well. The chart below on this page shows the percentage of complaints mentioning each habitability concern. So we have things from from weatherproofing being 21% to mold being 22%, plumbing being 22%. Then we have pests at 14%, and then a shared percentage of 7% between appliances at 7%, heating at 7%, and structural integrity at 7%. 3 complaints have been resolved and 5 are unknown. And I think the assistant city manager had maybe provided some updated information. And I'm not sure that if that got updated here. Todd, I know Assistant City Manager Todd Fieser is online. So if he has any additional information he wants to share on this slide, I'd be happy to defer to him. I guess it would help if I promoted him. Todd, did you have anything you wanted to add on this complaint section?
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, so one was found to be uncorroborated just this week. And so we've added another one. And then we've had 2 in court that have failed and are probably not showing as failed enforcements. So that's the biggest update that I would give you.
Todd, could you say that one more time for us?
Yeah, we had 2 in court that were found in favor of the defendants that we lost on, and one was found with it. We were on just last week, Nancy. I believe we decided that it's going to be unvalidated or has been corrected.
Okay.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Nancy and Todd. And if I missed this in a previous work session, thank you for reminding me, but could you just walk me through the process just briefly? Like, say if a complaint is registered with the city about habitability, mold, for instance, like what are the processes? What are the steps in place that the city takes, and who are the parties involved in that investigation, and then whatever subsequent action happens at that point?
So the very first part of the process is that we have to receive the formal complaint. So rather than a phone call, it has to be a written complaint. We do have a form available on our website, cityoflaramie.org/civic access. Same site that you go to for any of the permits and licensing. So it's available in the same space. It does require them to have that written notification to their landlord 10 days before they file the complaint, unless it is deemed, Todd, I'm missing the word here.
Essential services.
Thank you. Yeah, if it's deemed an essential service, they have to give them 48 hours written notice. So they have to provide that proof within their formal rental housing complaint. And then the form includes like what the alleged violation is. So then when Todd receives the rental housing complaint form, he is looking at that complaint to see, one, if the property is registered or not, just so he has a basis to start with. 2, is the alleged violation an actual habitability standard violation? So if it's included within 8.80. And then he also has to check to see if that complainant is party to a rental agreement at that property. If they are no longer a lessee or renter of that property, then that complicates the matter, because in the municipal code, it does require them to be a party to the rental. So, Todd, do you want to speak to how you go forward with inspections?
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. Thank you, and good job indicating the first part of the process. After that, then we take the complaint, building inspector, and they've all been inspected by Tim Cisneros, our building inspector 1. And I visit the complex, hopefully with the tenant and the landlord or property owner, property manager. And we inspect only the items in the complaint. So say that somebody had made a complaint about mold, then we only inspect for the presence or visual presence of mold. And in all mold instances, we have asked for testing to be conducted. But we only inspect on the complaint, and then we write a report, ask for the corrective actions, and then try to follow up with the complaints through there.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Clerk and Assistant City Manager. So what's the penalty if they don't fix it? Is there a fee? Is there a penalty? Do they pay a fine? I don't know if that's probably one of those things that's been discussed in a previous work session, but it's escaping me right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We do take them to court, which we've been successful on the two that we've gotten into court. But the penalties are actually pretty exorbitant. For non-registered, I think it's $100 a month for every month it's not registered. And then for habitability impact, it's $750, up to $750 per day for every day that goes uncorrected.
Follow up.
Do you know how much we've collected so far? The city's collected in fees or penalties or what have you?
Zero.
What's in here right here?
Yeah,
that
zero.
Fees posted to the program?
Yes.
Rental fees are different, or registration fees are different, but as far as fines, we've collected zero.
Okay. Any other questions on complaints?
Any other, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Assistant City Manager, and can you, if I remember correctly, conversations that we've had, or maybe during presentations that you've given, you have found that most of these don't have to go to court and once you speak to them, they remediate the problem. Is that correct? The vast majority, or am I misremembering?
No, I think you're correct. We're seeing corrective action taken, even with some of the more notable landlord and property owners have been able to take corrective action to correct whatever needs to be corrected. The hardest part about the whole situation that we're finding now is that a lot of the people are making a complaint and then leaving the lease, which really kind of leaves us in a lurch for what we can do with the ordinance. And we're working with the city attorney's office now on corrections to the ordinance to bring to you guys to help give us a little more strength in the process.
In the most recent complaint that the assistant city manager addressed, the property owner had already made corrections to the alleged violations to habitability standards. And so those portions they had already corrected. And so he was able to verify that even though the complainant wasn't part of the lease anymore, they had abandoned that agreement had been ended. He was still able to kind of follow up with that property owner and stuff. So Todd's done a good job of communicating with these property owners to let them know that they've had a complaint filed and what the alleged violations were, so that they have an opportunity to get those corrected. So.
Further question or comments?
On the next page, we have what Councilor Lockhart was asking. It was the fees posted to the program for, this is just the rental housing licensing portion. And I'm not quite sure where the 50 cents came from. So please know that this might be an estimate. The number here might have been that's why I'm saying it's probably an estimate, because we came out of MyGov for our rental housing licensing, and in October of this last year started the new enterprise software. So I'm not 100% sure why that is the way it is. So please don't take that at 100%, but $331,642.50. Approximately $34,920, which that I can definitely say is probably accurate. That comes out of the new software, so I'm confident that that number is correct. That's this year's new rentals or renewals of previous rental properties. In 2025, the 140,480 was our collection total. 24, 29,000. And of course, 23 was larger because that was the first year of the program. A lot of the rental properties that registered in 23 renewed in 25. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of why that year is higher, it's because they renewed for the first time. So it's steady. You know, we always have questions about how does this apply? You know, is this a minimum habitability standard? Questions about the complaints. So we continue to go forward. Original implementation of the program was an approximate 263 hours of staff time, expenditure of $1,485.12 in postage mailings, and additional cost for publications in the Boomerang. 85 building permits have been pulled for egress, ingress, and emergency escape windows since the adoption of this code, which is an estimated time of about 225 hours.
City Clerk.
Yeah.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I hate to keep on asking what penalties are, but.
No, you're good.
So what are the ramifications if a landlord or property manager or what have you doesn't register? I mean, it's a voluntary deal, right? Or do they have to? And if they don't, what do we do?
According to Laramie Municipal Code 8.80, and I want to say it's 060 is the penalty section. It goes back to what Todd was mentioning earlier, the $100 per month that they're not registered. They could be fined. Yeah.
But I would jump in there, but the city has to pursue that enforcement. And there has been no pursuit of enforcement under direction of council to staff. Now, if the council wishes to change that position and direct us to enforce, I mean, you've seen the numbers, despite, you know, tons of public outreach, despite direct mailings, we're at about, we think, 30% of rental units being registered. So, you know, it begs the question, Councilor Lockhart, that, you know, will we ever attain full registration and licensing at 100% without enforcement, active, not passive enforcement? And that's what we've been doing thus far, is passive enforcement at direction of council. And trying to use incentives, right? Like the program we just talked about.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking at the egress, ingress, I had followed up with Director Tini about the presentation we had received from a constituent about the egress, ingress, and it sounds like that is something we could continue with. I wonder if it makes sense once we have something in place that has a little more flexibility on the egress windows, and people have the opportunity to utilize that flexibility a little bit more. I mean, what is the place? This is more of like a hypothetical question, or just kind of putting it out into the world of where we would start to do further enforcement. It having been in place for a good number of years now. And, you know, the egress thing is what we heard a lot of folks complain on. If we can get that fixed, we're giving a lot of opportunities for people to kind of get to where we need to be. And I don't have a good answer to it. I don't know if I know yet, but I think maybe it's something we should at least start thinking about a little bit.
Councilor Doherty.
When this ordinance passed, we heard a lot about we should use a carrot rather than a stick approach. And so I think the certifying apartments is going to really help. So a parent, if they're sending their kid here and they want to check things out, they'll have a way to know, well, the person too. I shouldn't infantilize the students, but, you know, the savvy renter will be able to look that up, and then maybe landlords and property managers will know that, hey, we need to do this. Do we have any idea of the scale of Airbnbs? Like how many of these are Airbnbs and how many are just like, we keep that apartment because my kid's out of school, but we come to town to go to football games or something? I don't think we have any idea of that scale, though the mayor might have an idea of the scale of how many Airbnbs are in Laramie.
Yeah, mayor and council, the rental housing ordinance actually doesn't address Airbnbs or short-term rentals.
It's in the, or it's in.
Mayor, correct. This Title 8 specifically does not include short-term rentals, only long-term rentals under a lease agreement.
So, Councilor Doty.
So I'm wondering if the ones that aren't registered is because it doesn't apply and they haven't bothered to tell us we didn't apply because we just come there on Saturdays during football season, or this is an Airbnb. So isn't that possible? I don't think it could be half of them though. 3,000 Airbnbs. I doubt we have that many out there.
We have seen an increase, Mayor, through you, in respondents from previous landlords that have converted their property over to Airbnbs because they didn't want to comply with the code, or it was too onerous, or whatever their reasoning might have been. But we have seen I heard from quite a few of them that they did do a conversion to an Airbnb.
Further comment or question?
So if I had to estimate, I would say we've probably heard in the last couple of years from approximately 30 to 40 people, and I could be wrong, but
that have converted from rental to Airbnb.
To Airbnbs,
That's what you've heard from
folks on the
Okay.
Like we have no way to, sorry. That's anecdotal. That's a phone call. That's someone saying something on the phone. We have no way to know that's true. We have, that's just anecdotal.
And Vice Mayor, you have some information for us?
Yes. So a while back, I think a few of us received information from somebody from Airbnb who I think pays attention to what municipalities are doing. And I asked him how many there were in Laramie. He sent me a screenshot. He said this would fluctuate depending on, the time of year, that sort of thing. The screenshot that he shared with me had 90 Airbnbs in Laramie. And so, maybe that goes up to 200 if they aren't on there, but maybe that gives us a little bit of a ballpark about what those numbers are.
Okay, thank you.
So the next part of this slide is the rental housing licenses as of July 3rd, 2025. And you've heard these numbers once already tonight. You have rental housing licenses issued at 2,138 and number of dwelling units at 6,491. Just as a reminder, since we had fees on that page, for those that might not remember, the fee for a rental housing license is issued per dwelling unit at $40 for a 2-year license. So it's $20 per year, but it's a 2-year license. So $40 per dwelling unit for 2 years. So, Janine, did you want to touch base on this next slide?
So Council, the last slide here, you'll recall as drafted on first reading, Title 8 allowed for educational compliance approach, or the carrot, as Councilor O'Doherty has talked about. The council was focused on minimal fees, and with respect to the enforcement focused on creating a self-enforcing mechanism. And so that was that tenants can file complaints, but they have to work first with their landlord to give their landlord the opportunity to do what is needed, but then can file a complaint with the city. And so we do only enforce this ordinance upon complaint. As I said, we're not out actively enforcing the ordinance absent a complaint from a tenant. The habitability standards were the fourth major element of the ordinance, and they really are very basic. They're the most basic things any of us would expect in our living conditions. So basic equipment and appliances, structural integrity of the building, that there is ventilation, that there is not mold, there is not pests, that there are working heating electrical units, heating and electricity units, I should say, that the building is weatherproof, it is secure. In other words, it has locks, and that sanitation, water, and plumbing are in place. The other thing that the council did require is fire safety elements. So there have to be fire alarms in the building and egress from sleeping rooms, so that if there is an emergency, that folks in the middle of the evening can get out of those areas. And then lastly, carbon monoxide detectors were required in each area that has a fuel burning appliance. I think that's everything. You can see here from the table that we inserted to the right on this slide that we do have a lot of structures in this community that are older and so maybe need a little extra TLC. Many of those have been converted. If they're single family, they've been converted to multifamily. And then we also have a lot of older housing stock that was originally multifamily and remains that. So from our housing study, you can see a summary of the housing conditions in Laramie as of the date of that study, 2014. That data is a little bit old, but it's probably not too far out of date, showing you that we do have a lot of what we would consider fair or poor housing, and some of that related to the age of our housing stock in the community. So maintaining these basic habitability standards is an important thing to make sure that we have nearly half of Laramie's population who live in rentals having quality, secure housing.
And the last slide was just a thank you. If you guys have any questions, please let us know and we're happy to answer them.
Questions or comments? I see none. Thank you very much. What? Oh, yes. Thank you very much. That was very helpful, very informative, and I do appreciate kind of the on the spot description of the complaint process and how that's handling. I think it was helpful for all of us to get like that update again.
Mayor, as wrapping up, you heard Assistant City Manager Fieser mention to work with the City Attorney's Office. I do think that there are some needed modifications to this ordinance. That is my opinion. But we have learned through the proceedings in front of the municipal court judge that there may be a hole in the ordinance in terms of the judge's ability to enforce it with respect to LLCs who are owning these properties versus individual humans, I guess. I haven't read that court case, but I know Todd's working with your city attorney on that. And so there may be some other refinements, I think, that might be in order now that we've test driven this ordinance for 2 years now to make it more enforceable and to make it more complementary to the other programs we're working on. And if I can dovetail then into those other programs, I mentioned the program for landlord assistance to make modifications to the structures. We're going to talk about that in October. We also will have, as part of the second housing work session, a topic to discuss the housing ready infrastructure program that you approved in the budget. And I'm hoping that we will make good progress on that. It is a little tenuous though, based on workload related to other things that are a little bit uncertain right now, but we're going with the flow. So hopefully you'll give us some grace as we work toward that October work session. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you, councilors. Next, we'll go to city council updates. Councilor Bowling, are you ready?
None at this time, Mayor.
You're ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have a police advisory next week where we will discuss drone use and also the first meeting of the youth council, which I'm maybe more excited about than anything else. So I will have those updates the week after that.
Thank you. Councilor Vigil?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Since our last council updates, I have attended the LCCC Advisory Council. They elected new leadership, and so that was really exciting. I think it's a good group. It doesn't meet super often, but the updates that we had this last time were great. LCCC enrollment is looking good, and I've really appreciated just all of the community involvement that they have on that council. And then on Thursday, we have Human Rights and Relations.
Oh, good. I'm glad to see the renewal of the LCCC group. That's good. Councilor Shumway.
No updates.
Thank you. Councilor O'Doherty.
No updates.
Thank you. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended a week ago Monday, the Albany County Tourism Board monthly meeting, and the old business, there's 4 different organizations, events that they sponsored. So Laramie Regulators Tournament, Bumble Brew Fest, Studebaker Drivers Club Recap, and Taste of Laramie, Laradice. They went through, their presentation from each of those organizations on how they went and whatnot. And, when the tourism board sponsors an event, they like to try to see how many hotel stays, where people come from, things like that. And so those organizations are really on board and trying to get that information, trying different things to get it out of people. Also, they looked at a request for a new music festival called Snow Train Music Festival, where this organization has set up different bars and venues downtown and across town to have a music festival. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's set in stone yet. One moment, I can look. I have to pull it up. So it is. All right. So anyway, so Will's in it. So he's in it to win it. So yes. And then went through the lodging tax collections, and then they appointed new board chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. So they had to do through that. And that's about all I have on that. Other than that, I've been with you guys.
All right. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple. DDA met and has closed the RFP for the downtown plan, and then had just a little bit of an overview of the First Street project and the Third Street project. So that'll be interesting to see what those the proposals are as they come in. Building and Fire Code Board of Appeals met to approve Pilot Hill's water fountain situation, which I think will come to us. And so that was an interesting conversation to listen to. And then I had a meeting today to go over the data group of the housing workforce to prep ourselves for the big meeting that occurs on the 8th. And other than meeting with some constituents, I'm pretty sure that is it.
Thank you. Councilor Newman, do you have anything to report?
No, other than, youth council is coming up, but Councilor Bowling talked about that, so no updates.
Thank you. Let's see. On Wednesday, August 13th, I attended the airport board. They are continuing to work toward revenue streams, increasing sustainability. They will be altering the proposal that they made, withdrawing the proposal for a hangar and asking for less that would cover critical infrastructure needs, the runway and the runway extension. The runway must be brought up to standard, and so that is a critical need. So they will be resubmitting that to us shortly, within a day or so. Monday, the Assistant Chief of Police, Smith, and Chief Johnson, City Manager, and I met just to talk about emergency preparedness and response, how the departments, the process that they go through, that, you know, the primary focus, of course, is on safety of individuals, property, while balancing the protection of basic rights. They did report that the group that is currently demonstrating in front of the courthouse weekly has been very good about maintaining contact and relationship, and that they not had problems with that and have appreciated that kind of planning. Wednesday, we had the WAM planning meeting, Wednesday the 20th. And again, very much gratitude to our city clerk and to Nancy Oakland Potter for their organizing us in a beautiful, beautiful way that, as I think you could see tonight, we were very proud to have Ashley come in and just be so positive. Then on Thursday, we met with the Board of Health, and the board present did unanimously vote to support the disillusionment of the board. They did acknowledge that the state statute is restrictive on what they can do, and an example such as when we were trying to respond to the COVID epidemic, the board was not empowered by statute to respond. So members of the board joined what turned out to be a citywide coalition that worked for about 18 months on education, you know, and that type of thing. So they understood, and they felt that, and I personally feel that we have some extraordinarily talented, well-known health professionals serving on that board, and we were not really using their expertise in a useful way. There was a point where they did want to get more engaged in community education. They dreamed of doing things, but when we look at the statute, it is simply under the city is not covered. So then on Monday, and this is the last one, the Albany County Housing and Land Trust Advisory Board met at LCBA, and we have submitted a letter of inquiry to El Bogan, and we will hear on the 28th whether we qualify to apply for that grant. We did receive some very good feedback, and so there's a good chance that that may happen. And then I just would like to remind everybody that on September the 8th, there will be the last meeting of the Albany County Housing Coalition. Each of the 4 divisions, finance, code, data and community partners will be reporting on what they accomplished, what the outcomes are. And so if you wanted to get that 18-month long process in a nutshell, this would be a good time to do it. It's held at LCCC. I think it's room 108. And that is at 12 o'clock noon on September the 8th. And that will be the final meeting. And from there, we will move with recommendations toward more focused work groups. And so the community partners has become the Housing and Land Trust Advisory Board. So we will continue to work in the development of the Housing and Land Trust. And that ends my stuff. And if we can do agenda review, and I do have a question, and Councillor Freed is not here, so we I spoke with Director Levin about 9-0, the EAC board recommendations that they are making. I was just wondering if that should be moved, or is it okay on the consent agenda? Is that something that you all would like the public to hear what those recommendations are? And we could decide at council next.
Mayor, I think it would be nice for us to hear what the recommendations are. So I would like to move it to the regular agenda.
Second.
Okay, I agree, and that's why Director Levin and I had that conversation. So if we could move 9-0 onto the agenda, just so people can hear the recommendations. So any other suggestions? And the regular agenda, any questions? City Manager, you have something? Okay. All right. Nothing? No comments? No questions? We're adjourned.